Why do we always think the world would be better off without us? An outcast, that was I. A simple bore of a person who was cast out of society. For being too quiet. For not wearing the right thing at the right time. For being too smart. For not being strong enough to stand up for myself when they called me freak, nerd, dumb, weirdo. My mouth would open to speak, but the words would get caught at the back of my throat. Mute! They screamed. I could speak. To myself at least. And when I arrive at home, it is no better. Go to your room, now! My mother says, day after horrid day. My dad simply ignores me and ends up passed out on the living room floor, after being at the bar all day. My mother screams at him. He screams at mother. And it results in the car pulling out of the driveway and another gallon of booze consumed. I slink to my room. The floor might have holes, and the ceiling might have cracks, but it's still better than listening to my mother's sobs. There were days I contemplated becoming what my father was. At least alcohol would drown my sorrows. It would make me forget all my troubles. But I hated to think of myself as an old woman chugging a gallon of vodka. Then, one day I said those 8 simple words. I wonder what would happen if I disappeared. I wonder if they would even know I was gone. If they would care. Your wish has been granted. I heard a voice whisper. What? I looked around, out the window too. No one in sight. Must have been my imagination. I must be going insane. Maybe they'll put me in a madhouse. The conditions there have to be better than this. Tears streamed down my face, as I cried myself to sleep. Something poked my forehead. Repeatedly. My eyes flickered open. There, hovering over me was a small girl. She had bright pink hair and glistening purple eyes. She wore a deep red dress with thousands of frills covering it. Pink flowers overlapped the many frills and made her look like a living garden. She smiled at me. My hand hit something squishy. I looked down. I was lying on something white and puffy. Where am I? I screamed at the girl. Halfway between heaven and hell, she replied cheerfully. This little girl is really creepy. Wait, heaven and hell? What? What are you playing, little girl? I screamed. She giggled. Nothing at all. You wished you didn't exist. So I granted it, she said, continuing to giggle. Who are you? I asked. Her giggle only increased. The angel of death, silly! She laughed. My mouth fell open. You are the Grim Reaper? Yep. She reached her hand up and helped me to my feet. You wanted to see what everyone would be like if you disappeared. She giggled. This ought to be interesting. She grabbed my hand and jumped off the puffy white cloud. I screamed. We were falling from heaven. Or hell. Which one? Moments later, a familiar sight came into view. Hey, that's my high school! I screamed over the oncoming wind. She nodded and continued to chuckle. She landed light on her feet, followed by me. She pulled me into the building of my many horrid memories. To my homeroom. She giggled again and pointed to Jared, the star of the football team. Seems like someone already notices you're missing. She giggled. What? She only giggled. Would you like to hear what he's thinking, like I can? She whispered in my ear. I shrugged. Where's Becky? I wonder if she's hurt. I hope she's not dead, a little voice said. It emanated from the classroom. She chuckled once more. Healy, yikes you! I glared at her. No one else seemed to care that poor old outcast Becky was gone. That is true. No one else cares. But he does, she said, smiling. So, I don't care about him. Take me to see my parents. Fine. We hovered over my shabby, makeshift home. Surprisingly, both cars were parked outside. Dad wasn't at the bar. We landed on the ground again and I rushed through the door. That felt weird. "Henry! Keep looking! Call the police! We have to find my daughter!" I heard my mother wail. "What? She called me her daughter?" Tears clouded my eyes. "And she was worried about me." They poured over my eyelids, staining my face a deep scarlet. My dad rushed into the living room. His face held an expression of pure horror. "Oh, where could she be? My sweet, sweet baby girl," he sobbed, falling to his knees and dropping his head into his hands. "Dad! I'm right here! Look at me!" I screamed, waving my arms frantically. "Are you trying to communicate with him?" the Reaper asked. Her bright pink hair began to darken, a deep shade of scarlet now. "Yes. They love me. Thank you so much. I want to go back now," I screamed. Her dazzling purple eyes also changed to a dark scarlet. Her teeth grew longer, sharper, as did her nails. "You think you can go back?" she asked, taking a step towards me. I nodded. She shook her head. "You see, there are always some troubling little girls that think the world would be better without them. Some of them right, some of them wrong. Either way, God created me to deal with them. Now come here, darling. I haven't had a snack in a while," she said, enclosing her arms around me.